Okay. So yeah, we're doing a kind of interesting thing, I think. Let me swoop that on over here. No, not. Yeah, sure. Okay. Doing kind of an interesting thing today, I think, for this podcast, because I'm trying to do stuff that's not just like copy paste of every other podcast, which is really just like a guy like looking into a camera being like, oh, it's a funny thing happened to me the other day. I'm trying to be a little more inventive than that, so I've come up with like some concepts. Also, sorry I missed the last 2 weeks, like I said. Maybe a little on and off, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe a little on and off. Let me really quickly go look at a thing. Okay, good. Want to make sure. Okay. So yeah, today we're gonna be. I hit shuffle on my Spotify 55 times, and for each of those times, I would pull a picture of them from online, put text over it saying their name, and we're going to rank them. I'm going to talk a little bit about why and all that sort of stuff. It's gonna be fun. Really quickly, let me PM my Discord. Cool. Cool. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the mood right now. It's kind of the move. We're gonna talk about that, and if we have leftover time, I have stuff I can talk about as well. But I think this stuff is more interesting. So we're gonna wait. We're gonna talk in a bit. Okay. So let's hop into it. And audio listeners for later on, I am sorry. This is going to I'm going to say each band and kind of describe them and stuff, but like I know it's not very auditorily stimulating. Sorry about it. Just go to my YouTube channel. If you want to see the video, go to my YouTube channel. If you don't care, then have fun. I feel the same way. I listen to most of my podcasts audio only because I listen to them at work. So I'm a fucking working man. I'm a working man. I got things going on. Gotta do shit. So I get you. I thought I saw my cat. He's still sleeping. Oh, you guys can't see him. Hold up. Let me. There he is. He's in that little pouch up there. Yeah. He's up there. Can't really see him very well, but it's how it goes. Okay, let's get into it. I'm gonna switch my cam. There we go. So, this is what we got going on. This is it. Let me shrink these two things. No, why can't I move them both in conjunction? That's so lame. Okay, let me shrink this to like here, and then I'm gonna shrink myself to here. There's probably something I should have done before the stream, but fuck it, whatever. Just trying to make it so that it's not like in the way. Okay. So this is what we're gonna be doing. So you see I got all these bands over here, and we got all these bands, and also this link will be in the description of the YouTube video as well as the podcasting app descriptions and stuff. So if you guys want to do this as well, you can. Again, these are all just random artists that are on my liked songs on Spotify and shit. So your mileage on if you know them or not is varied, but also I didn't want to go with a pure like S to F kind of tier list because I want to get a little custom with it. I got S, the equivalent of S tier would be pristine vibes, which is like I would put this on pretty much whenever I would slap this bitch on and it'd be a good time. I got the occasional vibe, which is basically like I will sometimes put this on, but most of the time it comes up in my shuffle and I'm like, okay, this is good. Shuffle maybe is like I would probably only listen to this if it like came through my shuffle, you know? And then sometimes I skip it is actually really most of the time I skip this, but most of the time took up too much space. Even though I think it's the same amount of letters, but it's spaces. But most of the time I skip this. And then Relic of the Past is so here's the quirky thing. I've had this music account since I was in high school. So so a few of these are bands I don't even really listen to anymore. They're so far back in the playlist I haven't really took them out. So we'll talk about them when they come up to them. So yeah, that is everything. Are we all good? We all ready for it? Let me get my shoop up. There we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. Let's get ready to rumble. Okay. So, let's get ready to rumble. So first we got Traders. Traders is a down-tempo band from Florida. They are very heavy, and the main thing that people know them for is Tyler Shelton's vocals. His vocals are not any more wholly unique. A lot of people have kind of figured out how to do them, and have kind of like started replicating them. But at the time when they came out, they were pretty fucking unique, and not only that, but they have just become more and more of the staple style of beatdown is like the kind of Traders-esque beatdown. So I think I'm gonna put these guys for myself at least at like probably the occasional vibes. Like I don't necessarily go looking for a lot of Trader songs. I will occasionally put on a couple, but for the most part, I'll let them roll through and when it shuffles. I'm never upset by Traders. It's very inoffensive if you're into heavy music. But they don't really do anything to like make it like, oh, these are the guys. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. So now we got Sworn In. So here's the interesting thing about this playlist, about this thing, is that some of these artists are artists that I like all the discography, or most of it at least, and then some of it I only like parts. Like Sworn In, I only really like the first two albums by Sworn In. They're more recent stuff before they ended up breaking up. I think they broke up. I just wasn't the biggest fan of first. I didn't really like. I'm not a huge emo guy. I used to be like when I was in high school, and I've kind of just grown out of that style of music personally. I like a little emo twinge on things. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not the hugest fan of leaning full force into emo unless it's done really, 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 really well. And I just never really thought that Sworn In was like that necessarily. You know what I mean? So for me personally, I'm going to uh throw Sworn In probably probably shuffle. It depends because if it's their newer stuff, which isn't even in my playlist, but if it's their newer stuff, probably more like Relic of the Past or sometimes I skip. But their older stuff I will almost always listen to if it comes on as shuffle, but I will never look for it. And then even then I will occasionally skip it. So, you know, that's kind of what's happening here. Um, okay. So that's that. Extortionist is the next band. Extortionist is a down-tempo band from Washington, I believe. Let me make sure I'm getting my shit right here. Extortionist Northwest. So yeah, either from Washington or Oregon. Let me see if I can find out real quick here. It doesn't say. Okay. Actually, no, I know they're from Washington. Why am I being dumb? They're from Eastern Washington, if I remember correctly. I like these guys. They're fucking fantastic. They're a great beatdown band. I thought the things that they did with let me double check the name. Let me double check this name real quick. Yeah, Sever the Cord. I thought the stuff they did with Sever the Cord was fantastic. I thought it was innovative. I thought it was unique for the genre. And I thought they did it in a very tasteful way. So personally for me, pristine vibes. I fucking love these guys. I try to go to every time they play. I wasn't able to go to the most recent time that they played when they played with Distinguisher. I wish I could have because that was from what I've heard, a fucking insane show, and Distinguisher puts on an insane show. But I went to go see them when them and the Void were playing, and that was a fantastic show. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Extortionist. I like a lot of the stuff they did off Set for the Chord as well as some of their older stuff. I think they're just a fantastic fucking band. So next one, The Last 10 Seconds of Life. Here's the thing. Ironically speaking, I actually don't like a lot of the older Last 10 Seconds of Life stuff. A lot of people do. I am not the biggest fan of it. Oh yeah, for people who don't know, Last 10 Seconds of Life is another kind of like deathcore beat down heavy band. Um, I'm not the biggest fan of some of their older stuff, even though a lot of people tend to like it. I'm actually a pretty big fan of their like last year releases, if I remember correctly. Let me double check. Sorry to know all this off the top of my head. Again, I just kind of shuffled. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the stuff they did off of Machine Non Grata and the Violent Sound. I like those two albums a lot. I thought they had some unique ideas in the Violent Sound, and I thought they like really just like I'm not usually one for high production quality, but their production on Machine Non Grata is possibly the best high production heavy music I've heard in a very, very, very long time. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big old fan of that. Personally. So, um, I don't think I ever would like look for them though necessarily. They don't have anything that really like jumps out as like this is the shit. Um, but I think they're good, and I don't skip a lot of their songs when they pop up, although I do sometimes skip, but not often. So I'm gonna put them next to Sworn In, right in the shuffle maybe. Um, and the next is Sleep Sculptor. I don't know how much my audience knows about Sleep Sculptor. I'm a big fan of Sleep Sculptor. They do kind of like tech deathcore, like chaotic core type stuff. Um, Sound like a lot of early like Converge and the Chariot, but with like heavier vocals and more of like deathcore styled vocals. Um, I am a fucking big fan of these guys. I have a flag on my wall of them. Fantastic group. Um, I will say that they scratch a certain itch of mine that I don't really know that I can find anywhere else. I'll be real here. I'm gonna lean this up a bit. I'll be real here. I don't know if they scratch if I know another band that scratches like that same itch. I mean there's some, I'll be real, like Sea Space Cowboy kind of scratches a similar itch. The thing is that a lot of the bands that are doing the same chaotic core thing that Sleep Sculptor does, they're all like hardcore based. So they're all like Sea Space Cowboy and Wrist Beat Razor and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I think Sleep Sculptor is more based in the deathcore side of things, which I like as well. But I think Sleep Sculptor is really unique because they basically take hardcore style instrumentals, inject a tiny bit of deathcore in them, and then do deathcore vocals, which I think is really interesting. I'm a big, big simp for Sleep Sculptor, and I'm gonna put them in the occasional vibes because I don't know if I necessarily will look for them all the time. It's never like they're not a band that I can always put on and be like, yeah, this is good. And because you know sometimes it's just not the vibe. But if they come up in a shuffle or if a friend asks about them, I'm always like down to show people them. I'm always down to let the song roll out, you know. So it depends. Next up is Harley Poe. This is a fucking topic. Harley Poe is an interesting one because if any of you've seen my folk punk starter pack video, you'll know I had some words about Harley Poe. I'm actually a fan of Harley Poe. I like some of their stuff. Um, Not gonna lie, I don't like a lot of their other stuff though. The songs I like, I really like, and the songs I don't like, I really don't like. Whether it be for one reason or another. There's sometimes bands like that where some songs hit and some songs really don't. In the context of my playlist, though, I will say that a lot of times I will let a lot of the songs roll. There are a couple songs I generally skip though, depending, like they only hit sometimes. Um, and some of their songs get really old. Listen, her song is a cool song. I can only hear about the process of decomposition so many times before I'm a little bored of it. Um, so I am probably just gonna stick them in to. Well, here's the thing. The reason why I put Sworn in here is because the first two albums for me are back-to-back bangers, and I like a lot of them, but some of their newer stuff I'm not a big fan of. The Last 10 Seconds of Life I put here because their most recent two albums were both pretty good, and I like most of the songs on there, but a lot of their other stuff I would skip. Um, Harley Poe, most of their stuff I would skip, and there's only couple songs I'm a big fan of. So you know what? I think I can't justify putting them in the same tier. I'm gonna put Harley Poe into the sometimes I skip it category. So I think that's what's happening here. I think that's what's gonna happen. Okay, next up is Law Dispute. Um, Law Dispute is a melodic hardcore band. They talk a lot about tragedy and a lot about how hard life can be sometimes. And their vocal style is what's called like a hybrid vocal, basically, but for harsh vocals. So it's in between a spoken and a full scream. It's like this weird tensiony middle ground that will then sometimes roll over into a scream or will pull back into a normal vocal. It's a really good way to build tension. Their instrumentals are kind of whatever. I don't really care for them necessarily. Not to say that they're bad, but there's just nothing peaks out to me as amazing. So I don't really know what to say in terms of their instrumentals. And my issue with Lost Views, I only really have like two or three songs on my playlist by them, because there are other melodic hardcore bands that I like a lot more. That's kind of the issue, is that like I like a couple Lot of Dispute songs, but for me sometimes they're just like a little bit too whiny or a little bit too like whatever, or don't really go anywhere, don't evolve in anything. So I'm gonna put them into sometimes I skip because I skip most of the time with them. Ludlow. Ludlow is a gutter punk folk punk band. Um, and they're fantastic. I'm a big fan of the split they did with a Small Ant Fire. I think that's their the other band's name, Small Ant Fire. Let me double check though. I want to make sure I'm not fucking it up. Fire Ant Season. Good thing I checked. Yeah, they did a split with Fire Ant Season that I really liked. Their album, what was that album called? Jesus Christ, I'm forgetting everything. Destroy What Destroys You. That's a fucking amazing album. A little long, but I'm a big fan of a lot of things they had to say in it, as well as the direction they took the instrumentals. Um, uh, the issue is that some of their songs are a little long and a little bit slow to evolve. But I'm never mad about them coming on, so I'm gonna put them into the occasional vibe. Cause I don't there's like three or four songs off Destroy What Destroys You that I would always show to people, but then the rest of the album I don't think I would ever like specifically search up. So that's kind of the dilemma with them is I like a lot of the stuff they do, like most of it. But there's also a lot of other stuff where I'm like, I don't know. Next up, Six Brew Bantha is the band. They're a grindcore band. I don't know where they're based out of. They're fast, they're aggressive, and they're pretty good. I like a lot of their stuff. Although none of it really is amazing to me. Like Nails is a landmark band in grindcore. Magruder Grind is a landmark band in grindcore. Napalm Death is a landmark group in grindcore. Six Brew Bantha is good, and a lot of people like them, but I don't know if they've really done much, at least I've heard, that warrants big thumbs up approval. They're fucking, they're hitting all the marks of grindcore, but they're not really, I don't really see them rising above, at least from what I have heard. and I haven't heard a whole lot. So I'm gonna put them in the shuffle because I'm never mad when they come up, but most of the time I just kind of like am whatever about it. Next band is Left Behind. This is a beatdown hardcore band out of God. Why did I say out of? I don't know where they're from. I'm an idiot. Um, but I don't know where they're from. They're really good though. I like them. I slept on this band for way too long, unfortunately. And there's a lot. They do a lot of cool stuff. A lot of really cool stuff in the space to broaden the terms of what is considered hardcore. I'm a big fan of what they do. I've heard their shows go crazy. I'm gonna put them into shuffle because I'm still not all the way familiar with a lot of their stuff, and so I'm just putting them in the shuffle. Also, I'm gonna rearrange all this stuff when everything's on the plate to like order it and stuff within the tiers. DRI is the next band. DRI is a crossover thrash punk band. They famously wrote the song "Suit and Tie Guy." I grew up on DRI. My dad was a skater punk back in his day, so I grew up on stuff like this and Dead Kennedys and Suicidal Thoughts or Suicidal Tendencies, Jesus, and all that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of nostalgia for this band. That being said, a lot of their stuff is pretty indistinguishable between one another. They have a couple insanely good songs, insanely catchy songs. But beyond that, I don't really know what they've done. Also, I'm mad at them because every time they come through my town, it's the day I'm working, and it sucks. Otherwise I'd go see them. But I'm gonna put them in the shuffle because I don't know. I don't really see them doing a whole lot of else. Okay, next one is Ice Nine Kills. Ice Nine Kills is a metalcore band. They focus a lot on kind of a horror aesthetic and a lot of horror sound bites and stuff like that. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not a big fan of these guys. They have one song that I like. Everything else I have heard from them is just kind of whatever. They don't really interest me that much personally. They are a relic of the past for me. Next band, The Casualties. They're a street punk band, I think based out of LA, if I remember correctly. And I like a lot of the stuff they did. I named the whole series after the album they had called We Are All We Have. Um, I am a big fan of The Casualties. I think they're one of the best street punk bands to ever live. I will consistently show people them if they like want more punk bands because I think they get overlooked a lot. So they are going into pristine vibes. I am a big fan of a lot of stuff they've done. Next band, See You Space Cowboy. Big fucking fan of these guys. They were in my albums of 2021. God, I will say I love Connie. I love Sea Space Cowboy. I love everything that they all do. Their fucking name convention is sometimes really annoying because I cannot remember their long ass album names. The Romance of Affliction. It's not even a long album name. I don't know what I'm bitching about. The Romance of Affliction was in my 2021 albums tier list. Album top 5 albums of the year. They did a lot of interesting things. If you remember what I said about like kind of emo being a weird, touchy subject for me, Sea Space Cowboy I think actually did it correctly. I think they did a really good job of kind of putting chaos core as well as like emo inspired stuff and mixing it. I think they did a really interesting job. Did a really interesting thing by doing that. I think it was smart of them to do that. So I'm going to put them into pristine vibes. I think they've done a lot for the scene. Once again, expanding the knowledge of hardcore. They revitalized the kind of chaos core movement that was going on in the mid 2000s with Converge and the Chariots and Norma Jean and all that stuff. So, and I was a big fan of that sound then, and I'm a big fan of the sound now still. So I mean, the Chariot, Long Live by the Chariots, like that's my favorite album of all time, at least so far. So, you know, I'm a little bit biased, just a little bit biased. Okay. Next one is Man Must Die. This, if I remember correctly, is a death metal band. I don't know where they're from. I went through a huge death metal phase when I was like 17 till I was like 20. I still like some death metal bands, don't get me wrong. I still like some death metal songs, don't get me wrong. Um, this when I listened to them when I was shuffling through, they didn't really do anything to shock me. At least the song I heard. Um, yeah, I don't know. To me, they're more of just relic of the past. Not to say they aren't good, just that I don't really remember them. You know what I mean? So that's kind of why, because I'm just not that big into death metal anymore. There's only so many bands that can go 180 BPM blast beating for fucking 5.5 minutes before I want to blow my goddamn brains all over the carpet. You know what I mean? Okay. So next is Corbin. Corbin is a kind of, or no, that's not what that is. Oh my God, I put the wrong name on him. That's unfortunate. That's Rav actually. Corbin is later. This is Rav. He is a rapper who collaborates in the EXO City network. Very cool guy. Does a lot of interesting stuff. Does really good at making beats. Really cool instrumentals. Has a really good rap flow. I'm a big fan of him. Uh, I will put him into the occasional vibes. Him himself. Next one is Fugazi. I'm a big fan of Fugazi. I almost made a documentary on them. I still might actually too. I love Fugazi a lot. They do a lot of interesting things. They did a lot of interesting things for punk. Ian MacKaye is credited basically with changing punk a couple of times for better or worse. I love the stuff he did. Fugazi, I think, did a lot of things that changed the entire alternative music scene for years and years to come, and we still see the effects of that today. In fact, if you like, the main reason why a lot of tickets for alternative bands are pretty cheap is because of Fugazi. Fugazi made a point to try to keep ticket prices as low as possible. And by as low as possible, they don't mean like, oh, $20, because that's what we need to get by. No, I mean like they charged like $5 to get in until they were doing like stadiums. In which case, when they started doing stadiums, the most I think they ever charged was $15. Like they kept it low as fuck. Um, I'm a big fan of them. I like a lot of the stuff they've done. I really like their first 2 to 3 albums. Not the biggest fan of their later albums, but I also think their later stuff was a lot more experimental and a lot more interesting. Just not really something I would be personally listening to. So I am going to put them into the occasional vibes section because of that. Next band. Mortality Rate. I am a big, big fan of Mortality Rate. I am sipping on Mortality Rate juice. I love them. They're fantastic. I want to see them so badly. They're a hardcore band out of Canada, I believe. And they're fantastic. I don't know what it is. I just love their style of hardcore. I think it's sick. I haven't heard a lot of stuff by them that I hate. That being said, I also haven't heard a lot of stuff by them that I really like sticks out to me and I remember the name of. Really, the only thing that I remember is their split with Judiciary, which was one of the best splits like I've heard in hardcore in years. But still, so for that, I'm gonna put them in occasional vibes. You know, I would love to put them above, but I just haven't heard a lot of stuff by them that I'm like that song, that's the song. You know what I mean? Or like that's the album. So that's it. Injury Reserve. The thing about Injury Reserve, for me, is that I like when they're being weird and experimental, but also being kind of more up. They have a tendency to play kind of in the lower range of emotions and kind of play in the slower BPMs and the slower songs. And I personally am just more of a fan of them when they're like up and hyper and like, but like weird still. That being said, they're like, what was it, 2019, I think was when their album came out. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna check right now. Yeah, their 2019 album, their self-titled album, one of my favorite rap albums I've heard in a very long time. And then their By the Time I Get to Phoenix album was good, but also again, it kind of suffers from the kind of playing in the sadder lower registers. And I know that's for a reason. I'm aware of that. But it still doesn't mean I like it a lot. So I'm gonna put them as well into the occasional vibes. A lot of stuff's gonna be up here, guys. I just want you to know. But not this artist, Dorian Electra. I fucking love everything that they have done. Dorian Electra, they are a fantastic hyperpop artist. They are changing the game of what hyperpop is. They're doing fantastic, awesome shit. Um, what was I know their first album was called Flamboyant, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Flamboyant, and then My Agenda. My Agenda is dead ass one of the best albums I have ever heard. It was my album of 2020. And then Flamboyant is like my like if somebody wants to know what hyperpop is, that is the album I would send them. It's like the quintessential hyperpop album. So I'm going to put them into pristine vibes because I love everything they've ever done. I can pretty much point to like most of the album and be like, that song's really good, that song's really good, that song's really good for both albums. I'm excited to see what they do next. Next, artist. Next artist is Ghostmane. They're a SoundCloud rapper that focuses on like trap metal. Used to be a hardcore vocalist apparently. They're pretty good. Some of their older stuff I'm actually not a fan of really. His like first couple albums I'm just really not a fan of. But that being said, Noise and what was his most recent release? Let me get into this. Okay. Like for me personally, I think Hexada, which is a 2017 album, was like pretty good. I think Noise is one of the best, like weird, heavy experimental rap albums ever. And then I think Anti-Icon was like pretty good. I don't. I think it's hard to live up to Noise, so I think I kind of, I kind of shmishmad it a little bit. Um, but I am still a fan of it. I still like it. It's just nothing really surprised me. But Noise is literally one of the best song or best albums ever. The issue is that the rest of his discography is either like okay or like I'm just not a fan of it. So I have to put him in shuffle maybe. Because some of his songs I'll dead skip. Anything off of Noise though, I would never skip. I love every song off Noise personally. Next one is Gutter Love. Gutter Love is a gutter punk, folk punk artist from Florida. Actually, the guitarist of Traders does this project. I love a lot of the stuff he's done with Gutter Love. I'm a big fan of what is that album called? Fuck me, I'm forgetting all the album names. This is why I'm not a professional. God damn it. I'm a big fan of the Mango LP. I'm a big fan of Homemade Sorry. I'm not the biggest fan of I Hope Hell Has Wi-Fi. I think there's a lot of experimentation in that era, and I think that's cool. And they've done and a lot of stuff was good. But I don't think a lot of it hit for me personally, or it need to be leaned into more. I remember listening to Florida Bird songs, but I wasn't the biggest fan of some of the stuff he did. It just kind of sounded shmishma. Then the Some Stuff EP was pretty okay. But the Mango LP is a very, very good album. But again, a lot of the stuff I'll just kind of end up skipping because it's just not the vibe. Sometimes it's very situational. And a lot of the songs I like from him, I like because they're really sad. So I'm going to put him into shuffle. Unfortunately, I think actually too, I'm just going to take the maybe off and just have it be shuffle. I think it's just shuffle. Oh, my eye. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And if that's the case, then I think I'm going to move Sworn down a peg to sometimes I skip. Because sometimes I do that skip. Next band. Doomscroll. This is a gutter punk folk punk band that is more recent. A lot of sick stuff that they did. Their Moral Compass album, if I remember correctly, was in my albums of 2021. A lot of really cool stuff. They've only had one album out. They've only been a band for a very small amount of time. I like everything they've done. I show them to a lot of people. I would put them in pristine vibes personally. I like a lot of the stuff they've done. Okay. Next one, Nirvana. This obviously this band's from my state. I can't go 10 seconds talking to people who are into alternative music from other states without them mentioning, "Oh, you live in the state that Nirvana's from." Yes, well aware. Please stop. But I like some of the stuff they've done. I'm not the biggest fan of in Bloom. Is that the album's name? This is why you can tell I'm not the biggest fan of Nevermind. Jesus Christ. In Bloom's a song off Nevermind. Goddamn. Although I am a big fan of In Utero, I think it's their best album, and then Bleach is another is very good as well. Um, I'm just not a big fan of something of Nevermind. Jesus Christ. Um, I'm gonna put them into the occasional vibes, personally. All right. Next, we have Death, which is the band that started the death metal genre. It is the band that the death metal genre is named after. I like a lot of the stuff that they did. I still think a lot of that stuff holds up very well. I think they're actually a lot more interesting than more of the more recent death metal. Just personally, I'm a big fan. I gotta scroll. Jesus Christ. I'm a big fan of Leprosy. I'm a big fan of spiritual healing, and yeah, I think Human is also good. But yeah, those are kind of the two big ones that I'm a fan of personally. So I am going to put them into the shuffle because none of the songs really come out and grab my attention, but I do like them, and I will not skip them in a shuffle most likely. Sometimes I will though, you know what I mean. I'm also going to change the sometimes I skip to just I skip it because it just makes more sense. Um, Oliver Tree is the next artist. He is an indie pop artist. Well, I guess now now he's a country pop artist. Um, I like a lot of stuff that he did on his last album before his most recent. A lot of stuff he did on Ugly is Beautiful, I am a big fan of. I haven't fully listened to Cowboy Tears yet. I've only listened to some of the songs. And like so far what I've heard, I don't dislike it. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I'm not like climbing on the walls for that shit, but I like a lot of stuff he did in Jesus Christ, Life is Beautiful. Or Ugly is Beautiful. Christ. So I'm going to put him into shuffle. No, actually, I'm gonna put him into occasional vibes because a lot of this stuff, pretty much anything off of Ugly is Beautiful, I will be like, yes, King, that please. And then some of the stuff on Cowboy Tears will be like, yeah, this is good. And then some of it will be like, just skip that shit. So I'll put him there. Next band, 156 Silence, possibly my favorite hardcore band right now. They also were in my 2020 list of best albums with their album. Oh, that's the wrong spelling. Jesus Christ. With their Irrational Pole album. And then I also really like their Undercover Scumbag album. And I also really like the EP, the Don't Hold Your Breath EP. I think they're all very good. Um, Pretty much anything off of Irrational Pole, I am like, yes, King, please shove it down my throat, ingest it into my bloodstream. And then anything off from Undercover Scumbag, I'm like, this is really good. I like this. And anything off the EP, I'm like, this is really good. I like this. So I'm going to put them into pristine vibes because everything they've put out so far, I have been pretty much a fan of. And also, their show is sick. I saw them when they came to Tacoma, and that was a really good show. It's also where I got this shirt. Rig time, baby. Next band, Days and Days, the quintessential folk punk band right now, the quintessential gutter punk. Show Me the Blueprint was on my 2020 album list. I was a fan of that one. I thought there was some stuff about it I didn't really like, but I liked how they tried to kind of do a more what is it? More high production folk punk album to kind of see how that would work. And I think it actually worked out pretty well. I like a lot of the stuff they've done. A lot of their first album stuff is like really raw, and I like it. And a lot of the stuff off of God, what is that album called? I don't even really think of the album anymore. Jesus Christ, how am I forgetting this album? Rogue Taxidermy. Jesus Christ. A lot of stuff off of Rogue Taxidermy I think is like some of the best folk punk ever. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the stuff off Crustfall, but some of the other stuff off Crustfall I'm like this is peak. And then a lot of stuff off Show Me the Blueprint I'm a big fan of. So I'm also going to put them into pristine vibes. Because I think if you're into folk punk, you like kind of have to at least not necessarily be a fan of them, but you have to be aware of them. So they kind of set the stage for what folk punk is nowadays to a lot of people. So yeah, I like them. Next, Death Grips. If you're on the internet and you don't know who Death Grips is, I'm shocked. But Death Grips is a sorry, excuse me. It's like 1 in the morning when I'm recording or when I'm streaming this. So, Death Grips is a experimental industrial hip hop group. Um, they are kind of just legends. Ex-Military is an insane album. I listen to it consistently. The Money Store is also an insanely good album. I listen to like often. Um, and then let me go through their albums because I've listened to all of them, and I'll just give you a snap judgment on them. Albums. Let's go from bottom to top. Yeah, so yep, Money Store. No Love Deep Web is a very good album. I like a lot of stuff on No Love Deep Web. Government Plates I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I'm okay with it. Fashion Week I don't care about because it's just beats. The Powers That Be, which is the like collaborative or not collaborative, but the joint album, the double disc album. I like a lot of stuff they did on both discs. I like some stuff more than others, but I like a lot of it. And then Bottomless Pit, I'm a big fan of, like Bottomless Pit a lot. I have the CD for it. And then Year of the Snitch, I actually wasn't a huge fan of. I don't necessarily think the album's bad. They just, in comparison to Bottomless Pit and their other albums, I think it's kind of their weakest aside from Government Plates and their Beats albums. So I'm gonna put them into occasional vibes because I pretty much never skip them, and I'm always okay with them coming up in a shuffle, or listening to a full album. But there are some albums and songs that I'm like, hey, I can skip this. Next, band, Now Nakrath. They're a tech death band, I think in the Scandinavian area. They are interesting. They're very, very experimental, very weird, like a lot of the stuff that they have done. I haven't listened to their newest album, Darkment. I have listened to the whole of The Law as well as A New Kind of Horror. Both very, very good albums. I've also listened to Desideratum. I don't know how to pronounce that, but hopefully that's right. They're fantastic. I like a lot of stuff that they do. That it satiates my fast technical side of my brain without being really annoying. And they're weird and experimental, and I like them. That being said, um, you know what? No, I'm not even gonna that being said it because in the genre of like tech death sort of shit, I feel like they're kind of king, at least to me. Like obviously there are more famous artists in that area, and obviously more people will sometimes be like yes, king, more of that, please. But to me personally, I think they're the best. I'm gonna put them into pristine vibes for that because I'm always okay with them coming up, and I even sometimes search them out to show people. But I don't necessarily. I'm not like sucking their dick at all corners. Next, Animals as Leaders. You guys are aware of my opinions on technical music. I've made that very aware. I'm not the biggest fan of solos. I'm not the biggest fan of like pure technical music for the sake of being technical because I think that's annoying. That being said, Animals as leaders actually tries to make songs out of their stuff. But also that being said, some of their stuff is just really not interesting. Um, Whereas other parts of them I think are interesting. So it's kind of a split. It's not even like certain albums, it's certain songs. So for that, I'm gonna put it into I skip because most of the time I do honestly skip because I don't want to listen to an 8 minute instrumental. Uh, but when they hit just right, and I think only Polyphia can satisfy that itch aside from them, for me. Okay, so far, this is where we're at. Next, though, we're going to Bones. This is a SoundCloud rapper, credited by some people as being the start of the emo SoundCloud movement. That's not really true if I remember correctly, but that was a narrative for a while online. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a whole lot of opinions about this guy. Like some of the stuff I'm like this is pretty good, and then some of the other stuff I'm like, I don't really care. I don't really care that much. But some of the stuff I'm like, this is pretty good and unique. I'll put him into shuffle because I'm never mad about him coming up in a shuffle. Next band, Can't Swim. They're a melodic hardcore band, like I was saying about La Dispute. They are one of the other bands I would listen to instead of La Dispute, actually. I like a lot of stuff that they do. I think they have really interesting lyrics, and I think they're also not always whining, which I like. I like that a lot. So I'm gonna put that into shuffle because I'm never mad about them coming up. Chiodos, they are the first one of the first like post-hardcore bands I found on my own. Them and Census Fail. They're also one of the only post-hardcore bands I still listen to on occasion. Um, Here's my opinions on all their albums. I think the Heartless Control Everything. I think the album's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it necessarily. I also don't think there's anything that's really unique about it. All's Well That Ends Well is one of my favorite albums from that era. I love it. And then Bone Palace Ballet, I think is pretty cool. I think there's some cool concepts here, but I also, in all honesty, don't really care for a lot of it. And then Illuminatio, I literally could not care less about this album. Like, in all honesty, Notes and Constellations is probably the only song off this album I even really like. It's just really bad. Not a fan. And then Devil, I thought they had some stuff here, but most of it I was also like, this doesn't really matter. In all honesty, they only have one album that I'm a big fan of. Um, and some of their other stuff I skip. So I'm going to put them into shuffle because of that. Next artist, CM10. CM10 is a hyper pop artist that I am a big fan of. I love them. They're really cool. Um, I want them to come out with an album already because holy fuck, I need it. I know they technically have an album, but it wasn't that just a list of like a bunch of their other songs that they put out? Music Box, wasn't that just like kind of yeah, because it has like ADHD, it has Bored, it has Never Met. Yeah, it's like a lot of this is just like their songs they've already put out and just collected into an album. Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think if you're a singles artist, it's a good way to do it. Um, but for that, I like pretty much everything he's put out, so I'm gonna put him into Pristine Vibes because he hasn't put out anything that's turned me off yet. Code Orange. This is another band that I have weird opinions on. Code Orange did more than I think any other band has done since Converge for hardcore. I think when a lot of layman people think about hardcore, they think about either Code Orange, or they think about Knocked Loose. I Am King and Forever are two of the most important albums for just in general for hardcore. That being said, I am not the biggest fan of Underneath. I personally am not. I'm not. I like that they're leaning into industrial a bit more. Uh, but in all honesty, I would rather them lean more into hardcore and keep industrial as a secondary aspect. But I am happy that they're branching out and trying new things. I just am really not a big fan of them. Of what they're did with Underneath personally. I'm waiting to hear the new album that is coming out. The I think it's the Blood album or whatever. I'm excited for that because maybe that will change my opinion. But as of now, I'm going to put it into shuffle. Uh, Actually, I'm put it into occasional vibes because I'm never mad about either of Forever or I Am King coming up. In fact, I would search a lot of the songs of those up. If anything from Underneath comes up, though, I just generally skip it. So, you know. Now it's Corbin. Corbin is a SoundCloud R&B artist, basically. Formerly, I think, known as Spooky Black. He did an album called Mourn that is possibly one of the most hauntingly beautifully sad albums I have ever heard. Like generally, if you want to be in a bad mood for the rest of the night for being sad, Mourn is possibly your best choice. Oh shit, is this a new album? From when? Oh, 2021. Oh shit, I have to listen to this. Apparently new album out as well called Ghost with Skin. That came out last year. That's awesome. I'm excited to listen to that now. That being said, though, I like basically everything that he's done under the name Corbin. I haven't heard a lot of the stuff he did under Spooky Black. I heard from other people that that's like pretty good, so I'll trust them on that. And I'm gonna put him into the occasional vibe section. Next, Cousin Boneless. They are a folk punk, gutter punk band that focuses. That's not how you spell that. Uh, that focuses on like spooky macabre elements. They have a lot of stuff that helps them out with that. I'm a big fan of Trash Masquerade and Revel in the Rubble. Haven't heard Possession yet, but I've heard it's pretty good. And I like some of the stuff they did off of Broken Glass Party. Big fan of these guys. I have a patch by them. I have a shirt with them. Cousin Boneless goes in pristine vibes for me personally, baby. So far, so good, guys. I think so far we got some good stuff. Next artist, Gene Ammons. Gene Ammons is a jazz artist. Focuses a lot on whatchamacallit. I think saxophone. Yeah, saxophone because he's a sax player. Really insanely good sax player. My Romance and Here's That Rainy Day are possibly two of my favorite classic style jazz songs like ever. Has a lot of insanely sick stuff. Big fan. Big fan. I'm gonna put him into occasional vibes because I haven't gone through and listened to his entire discography. But from what I've heard, I've liked. And but you know, you're not always in the mood for jazz, so that's just kind of how it goes. Next, Electric Wizard. This is a weird one for me because I listen to Electric Wizard when I'm doing something else most of the time. It's either that or I'm listening to them in full albums most of the time. I don't really ever like actively search for like one song or the other. I mainly search for albums. Like recently when we were I forgot what I was doing, but I think I was playing a game or something. I was playing a multiplayer game. I just put on Witch Cult Today. It was a great choice. It was great choice for that. Fit the vibe perfect. But I'm a big fan of Electric Wizard. I think they're possibly my favorite in the doom metal, like stoner doom kind of area. Them and Monolord kind of fight for my favorite. But I think Electric Wizard kind of wins out just based off their vocals and off of Monolord's most recent release not really wowing me at all. Has Electric Wizard put anything out like even remotely recently? Because I don't think they have. No, they haven't. Yeah, they haven't. Yeah, I love Witch Cult today. Big fan of Dope Throne. Big fan of Black Masses and Wizard Bloody Wizard. Just like a lot of the stuff they do, man. They're cool. We'll put them into pristine vibes. Next, Gorillas. Very hit or miss. Um, clear my throat. I don't think I've talked this much in a while. Um, so Gorillaz is a band that's very album dependent, I feel. I feel like they kind of if you like them or not depends on what album you're listening to. The Now Now was okay. There's some stuff off there I liked, but most of it was just kind of was like whatever. Um, wow. Humans was just pretty bad in all honesty. Just not a big fan of whatchamacallit, Humans. Plastic Beach I think is sick. I was a big fan of Plastic Beach. Fit a lot of vibes for that album. Big fan. The Fall, in all honesty, I just don't really remember that much. So nothing really struck me from this album. D-sides I don't care about. Demon Days though. I grew up on this album. My dad is a huge fan of this album. I like it too. It's good. It's a really good album. And then their original Gorillaz self-titled album is also very good, but kind of gets old pretty quick. Kind of one-dimensional in a lot of ways. So I'm going to put them into shuffle because it really just depends on the album and the song, honestly. Next is Svart. Svart is an ambient black metal band, very focused on the sadness and just really being sad all the goddamn time. Um, Also, I think later on in his career went on to do like Blackened Country or some shit, like pretty crazy shit. Um, is this it? This is the right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if I remember correctly, he ended up going on to do like some weird, crazy like shit. Hold on, let me double check to make sure I'm right, but I remember hearing about that. Hold up. Um, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if that's correct or not. I just heard from somebody that they got weird towards the end of it. Anyways, though, that's not important. What is important is I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think they had some interesting ideas. Um, and I like ambient black metal, but if I'm gonna listen to ambient black metal, I more want to listen to something like Dragged into Sunlight, where it's like really abrasive and like gross and heavy and a little bit more spacey in that manner rather than spacey as in negative space. You know what I mean? So I only really listen to one of these guys, one song from these guys, anyways. So I'm gonna throw them into Relic of the Past because I think I'm honestly kind of over that sound. Uh, Meaning like the exact style of ambient black metal that Svart is. Anyways, No Home. No Home is a band from my area. I am homies with their drummer. I love Delric. I love Craig. They're all good people. Melodic hardcore sound. Very cool. They are, I think, releasing something soon, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% sure though. Kind of forgetting. I know they just released merch. Yeah, they're working on something. They're going up to something. Um, but yeah, no, I think Living in Hallways was a really cool album. I really liked what they did with it. I think honestly, Nothing Gold Can Stay is a fucking fantastic song. Really hits that like high schooler, like just genuinely made me feel like a high schooler again for a hot second when I first heard that song. Just like getting real sad and emo about shit. Big fan of that. So I'm going to put them into the occasional vibes because I would like to hear more by them. But yeah. Next up is Orthodox. Orthodox is a hardcore band out of I think East Coast. I'm not 100% sure though. Don't breathe down my neck about it. But they've done a lot of interesting stuff. I actually think they're one of the more interesting bands to come out of hardcore. Um, I haven't really heard a lot of stuff. Yeah, I haven't heard Let It Take Its Course. Well, I only really heard Sounds of Loss. But I was a big fan of a lot of stuff they did on Sounds of Loss. So I'm going to put them in the shuffle because nothing, no song stands out from another song by them for me, but that whole album as a package is really good, I think. So I don't think I would ever search out specific songs, but I would definitely be okay if they came up in a shuffle, and I would definitely put on their album. Next, the Homeless Gospel Choir. They're a really neat artist. I like a lot of the stuff they do. Folk punk, gutter punk artist that likes to fool around in that space a lot. Very political. I like it. I like that about them. Um, I actually found out about them because I was working with Alec from A Fistful of Vinyl, and they when I just as I started working there, they started putting out the session with the Homeless Gospel Choir, and I was a big fan of a lot of that stuff. They're going on tour with the fucking My Chemical Romance. They have like 4 dates with My Chemical Romance. That's so weird to me. It is really hype though. I'm happy for them. I'm gonna put them into occasional vibes because in terms of folk punk bands, they're not what first comes to mind about what I love about folk punk, but I'm never ever ever upset when they come up. I'm very happy usually when they come up. So that's probably where I would put them if I had to choose. Um, okay, next, King Strange. King Strange is, if I remember correctly, one of the members of Bridge City Sinners' solo project or side project. I like a lot of the stuff that King Strange has done. Um, I'm a big fan of people doing side projects and getting a little weird and wacky with it. And I think King Strange does a lot of cool stuff. The Second Coming was really sick. I haven't heard Lickety Split yet, but I've heard from some other people that it's pretty good. And then I really am a big fan of the King Strange and Stranglers live album. The live album is so good, dude. I don't know what it is. I'm not usually a huge fan of live albums because I feel like it's just kind of like usually poorly recorded, and that one is as well poorly recorded, but that's kind of the point of folk punk, so schmeep, you know. But I like King Strange. I'm going to put him into the occasional vibe because I sometimes will search out King Strange. Um, but not always. If that's the case, though, if that's the case for a lot of these, like I would occasionally search them out. I think I'm gonna knock the Homeless Gospel Choir down to shuffle because I don't really ever search out the Homeless Gospel Choir, but when it comes up in a shuffle, I'm always happy about it. But I don't think I ever like go into specifically listen to the Homeless Gospel Choir. Next, Kill Bill the Rapper. Here's the issue. Earlier, I put Rav up in the occasional vibes, even though what is it? Shmi Shma, Shmi Shmi Shma. Even though New Moon is one of my favorite rap albums of all time, I'm a big fan of New Moon. Um, but the issue is for me is that none of Rav's other albums really like hit me in the way that New Moon does. Although Kill Bill's albums, a lot of his albums do hit me in the same way. Um, I'm a big fan. I like Ramona. I like Resin. I mean Snow Globe Theory was in my top 5 for last year. And New Moon's one of my favorite albums of all time. So I think Kill Bill has to go up here into pristine vibes because I like pretty much everything he has done. But I am aware that Rav sometimes does a lot of features with him and will occasionally write like make beats for him and stuff. So I'm aware that they're not entirely separate. But if you're ranking them separately, I think Kill Bill generally gets me going more than Rav does solo. Even though I like both of them. Next, Motionless in White. I have literally one song from these guys. I used to listen to them all the time in high school, and now I don't. I just have the one song left, so they are definitely relics of the past. Next, Maximum the Hormone. They're a Japanese kind of new metal, experimental metal band. They're heavy, they're fast, they're sick. I'm a big fan of Maximum the Hormone personally. I love a lot of the stuff that they do. Um, and certain songs do really stick out to me. But I've never really listened to a full album of theirs and been like, yeah, this is the tits. Like, it's mainly specific songs. They're much more of a singles band. So I think for that, I'm gonna keep them in occasional vibes. God, my voice is getting destroyed, y'all. It's fucked up what they're doing to me out here. Oh my god, it's 2 in the morning. Next. Okay, next. Victims. If you follow me on social media or you've seen my other videos where I talk about Victims, you already know they're going in pristine vibes. They're a metalcore, metallic hardcore band. I guess more of like a metalcore focused hardcore band. Um, Mainly more in the metalcore section. Volume 3 is one of my favorite albums from that time period. I'm a big fan of Volume 3, Halfway Happy. Their most recent album, Volume 4, what was the full title of that? Volume 4, Numb the Ache, was really, really good. I like a lot of the experimental kind of weird stuff they did with that. And I do like Volume 2, Inside the Mind. And also the Misery and Death, I think it was Falsifier. Yeah, the Falsifier Victim split. Very good split. I think Volume 2 was okay. Volume 3 was really good, and I think Volume 4 is pretty good. So they go up into pristine because there's not really like an album on here where I'm like, yuck, gross. Even Volume 1, Sickness, was like pretty good. For a first release, that was like pretty good. Next, Straight Line Arrival. I'm a big fan of Straight Line Arrival. I'm a big fan of Skylar in general. They make me happy. They do a lot of really cool stuff. They're always trying to do something interesting. I saw that their next album has been sent off and is going to be coming out somewhat soon. I'm excited as fuck about it. I'm a big fan of The Greatest Arsonist. I'm a pretty big fan of The Greatest Letdown. I like Paper Skin and I like Glass Bones. Um, I think I like pretty much all the albums that they have put out. I've heard some of the songs off the If No Place EP, but I haven't really dove into that as much. And I think personally the Greatest Arsonist is more my style and speed than the Greatest Letdown. Again, I'm just not personally the biggest fan of like the emo style. But I think Skylar and Straight Line Arrival did it in a pretty good way. I like a lot of the songs off of the Greatest Letdown personally. I think it was really cool. Also, I'm a big fan of Straight Line Arrival going out and experimenting with the styles that they want to produce. I think that's really cool, and they got rewarded pretty well for it, if I remember correctly, for the Greatest Letdown. I think if I remember correctly, they got some good attention from this, which is good. So I'm going to put them into pristine vibes because I like pretty much everything they've done. Last band, Senses Fail. Senses Fail was the first band I found on my when I started looking into alternative music. My friend showed me Senses Fail, and I got really into them. So I have opinions on pretty much everything they've ever released because I've listened to everything they've released. Um, I'm excited for their new release too, by the way. I think their new release is going to be cool. Let's go from bottom to top. From the Depths of Dreams, I think is like okay. I think it's an okay little short album, especially for a first album. It was pretty good. Lead and Folgy is one of the most important albums in this era of post-hardcore and the kind of like emo phase. I think this is a really important album for people to listen to. I think Still Searching is like pretty good. I think it's all right. I think there's some stuff I like more than other stuff, but overall pretty good. And then Life's Not a Waiting Room is okay. It's probably my least favorite of this era, but it's fine. It's fine enough. It's not like offensive. It's just not really imaginative. The Fire is kind of a weird album because Buddy tried to switch up the sound more and it focused more on like a metalcore kind of sound. But it was kind of weird and awkward. So it's kind of a shmishma moment. Renaissance is one of my favorite albums of the early 2010s. It is a fantastic album. Made me feel a lot of things. Came into my life at a really good time. Between the Mountain and the Sea used to make me cry. I'm a big fan of Renaissance. Big fan. Pull a Thorn from Your Heart, I used to not like as much, but going back and listening to it more recently, I'm a big fan of a lot of stuff that this album did. I know that a lot of people didn't necessarily like that album that much, but I personally like a lot of stuff that he's going for in there. Although the album is kind of just like, it is just kind of like trying to fucking um trying to kind of cater to me. It's like his buddy's trying to do like breakdowns and metalcore stuff with like very sad poetic style lyrics. Like it is kind of up my alley. So like I'm not I understand that, but I am a fan of Pull the Thorn from Your Heart. So yeah. And then If There Is a Light, It Will Find You. I'm actually not really the biggest fan of this album. Although I know it's done a lot of good for Buddy, and there's nothing offensive about this album. I think actually this is probably one of the more accessible albums by them. I think that there is value in that, and that's okay. I am okay with that, and I'm also just happy that that because Buddy's talked a lot about how like this album made him enjoy making music again, which I'm happy about. I will always rather take a happy performer and creator rather than the sound I want. You know what I mean? So yeah, for that being said, I think I'm going to throw Census Fail into occasional vibes. Okay, let's speed run this because we're already over my hour mark. You guys just get to listen to a longer episode this week. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's start ordering this. So I think personally, I'm gonna put Dorian and Electra. I'm actually probably gonna put up front. Then 156 Silence. I'm not gonna think too hard about this. Though, and then I'm probably gonna put Now Nackrath at the bottom. I'm gonna put Victims kind of closer to the top. I'm gonna swap that. I'm gonna swap that. I'll read all this out at the end so audio listeners know what's up. I'm probably gonna keep that there, that there. I'm gonna swap these two. I'm actually probably gonna swap those two as well. And then I'm going to swap these. There we go. Okay, that's pristine. The occasional, this one's gonna be kind of hard actually, I think. I'm gonna put Death Grips up there. I'm gonna put Sleep Sculptor right. Let's think. But there. I'm actually gonna put this there. I'm gonna put Rav there. I'm gonna put Fugazi. I'm gonna put Fugazi there. No, there. I'm gonna put Injury Reserve there. I'm gonna put Nirvana down here. I'm gonna put Code Orange. I'm gonna put Oliver Tree probably there. I'm gonna put Code Orange. I'm gonna keep Code Orange there. I'm gonna keep you there. I think the rest of this is actually pretty good. I might flop. No, actually, I'm gonna flop this up here. Probably right behind Code Orange. And I'm probably gonna swap Oliver Tree and Corbin. Okay, cool. The shuffle tier. Okay. I'm gonna put Coast Main at the front of this. I'm gonna put Homeless Gospel Choir also at the front. I'm gonna put Gutter Love up there. I'm gonna put Chiodos up there. Uh, Actually, I'm gonna put Chiodos behind them, behind Six Brew. I'm gonna flop Orthodox with Left Behind, and then I'm gonna put um actually I'm gonna put Can't Swim behind DRI. Keep Death there. Okay, I think that's pretty actually no, I need to pay respect to Gorillas. I think for Gorillas I'm gonna put them in front of DRI, so it's like this. There we go. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, and then the Skip It tier. I think I'm going to actually I think this is pretty much good or skip it. I think that's pretty much what I would order. Okay, Relics of the Past. I think I'll order this. Put Svart up front because that's the style I like the most. And then I think put Ice Nine and Emotional Snow at the back, and then Man Must Die there. Okay, here's my full tier list. This is pretty much it. This is everything I have kind of been feeling. These are the 50 artists that, or 55 artists that I just kind of shuffled through randomly. Um, yeah, that's kind of the stream. I don't know. I kind of want to play some more. I kind of want to stream some more. So I think I'm gonna swap to. I think I'm gonna swap to whatchamacallit. To actually I need to save this tier list. Let's just plop that over onto this browser so that I can do this. Can you put these back? No. Okay. So I'll actually have to go to the ones that, yeah, I'll go to here and here. Come on. Oh, reset. Okay, there we go. There we go. So now if I go here, there we go. Okay. So yeah, that's the tier list. That's the whole dang thing. Okay. Thank you podcast watchers for watching. Thank you podcast listeners for listening. I'm gonna have an interview podcast coming up soon, so that's gonna be fun. But otherwise, like I don't really know what else I'm gonna be talking about too much. I don't know if people really want this, but yeah, if they do, then they do.